and scroll. Talk and scroll. Talk and scroll.
Hey, what's going on? This is TNS Time and Space, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Talk and Scroll. Before we begin, I would invite you to like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell notification so you can be made aware of any time that I post new content. But anyway, now that the housekeeping is done, we're discussing Deshaun Watson because there have been some recent developments in his case. There have been some recent developments, and those who are familiar with this channel, they understand that I've been covering this for a minute. So I have the following phrases listed on this thumbnail. I want to discuss each one in light of the recent developments. So number one, believe all women. There have been more accusers to come out. So for a lot of people, they believe that by virtue of there being more accusers to pop up, that somehow means that Deshaun Watson is automatically guilty. Hence, they're saying, well, you know what? The more women come out, there's 24 accusers now. There may be more. There was also a New York Times article that detailed how Deshaun Watson met with 66 women. But the funny thing about that is the way it was phrased is as if meeting with a certain number of women is illegal. So, for example, it didn't say that there were allegations from 66 women. This report just uncovered that Watson had met with 66 massage therapists. So that in and of itself is not illegal, but it's being framed that way. And I'm going to get to how that relates to the other phrases. Well, actually, you know what? I will jump right into it. Really, people are believing that he's guilty just because of the 66 masseuses that he met with, just because people have the idea of who does that. I can't say how many people in the comments from my videos, their main proof or their main argument is who does that. Or I wouldn't do it, so I don't understand. I don't understand someone meeting with 66 massage therapists, so something must have happened, which is another phrase that's listed here. So people are calling for his suspension simply based on that there's 24 accusers, there are more that may be forthcoming. In spite of the fact that there have been no criminal charges filed, there have been 2 grand juries whose specific purpose was to look at the evidence presented, and people are simply believing that the main evidence is where there's smoke, there's fire. That's literally the argument that I continue to hear, and that's why I didn't even take the time to do a whole bunch of editing. I just wanted to get this message out there because that's the main argument. That is essentially the reason to suspend Deshaun Watson, is because where there's smoke, there's fire. But I would argue that that goes both ways. What about the smoke of all of these accusers coming out of the woodworks? What about the smoke of them having the same attorney? What about the smoke of their attorney giving a statement when this all began saying that this case is about female empowerment? What about that smoke? See, people only believe that where there's smoke, there's fire when it pertains to Deshaun Watson. You know, they ignore the fact that there were massage therapists who came out in support of him, and people just want the legal system to throw the book at him just because it seems strange to have that many massage therapists. Because where there's smoke, there's fire, or because he's a sicko. I actually had someone respond to one of my videos, and that was their argument. That is essentially how people would like to determine Deshaun Watson's guilt or innocence. And it's interesting for men because a lot of men feel progressive, I guess. They feel as though they're being supportive men, they're being highly evolved men by being sensitive and empathetic to the number of accusers. But we cannot sacrifice logic. There still needs to be logic. There still needs to be an examination of the facts. And again, I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson is 100% innocent, but I'm also not willing to say that he's 100% guilty just because there have been accusers to add their accusations to an existing lawsuit. I mean, ultimately, the more I look at it, the more it reminds me of whenever you see these commercials that say you may be entitled to compensation. So literally, it seems to me like the accuser's attorney sent out a memo, so to speak, to say, did you massage Deshaun Watson? If so, then you may be entitled to compensation. Now, another story that I wasn't going to cover, but I wanted to bring it to light or discuss it, is that there was a detective who stated her belief that Deshaun Watson committed crimes. Now, again, she's a detective, but she didn't say anything about the evidence. She said that it's her personal belief that Deshaun Watson committed crimes, and she admitted when she was questioned about this for the purpose of the grand jury, she admitted that she automatically believed that Deshaun Watson was guilty. In other words, she chose to believe all women. This is a detective, mind you. So instead of being alarmed that someone within our legal system, someone who is tasked with being impartial and investigating the facts, they admitted their bias. This detective in the Houston Police Department admitted that her personal belief was that Deshaun Watson committed crimes. But see, the thing is, by disclosing that, you pretty much undermined your objectivity. You undermined yourself. You undermined your credibility. You undermined yourself with that. So, and then the argument that something happened. That also goes both ways. So if we're going to say that Deshaun Watson must have done something wrong, what about the possibility that the accusers aren't being 100% honest? Maybe some are and some aren't. So I don't look at it as black and white, as some channels, who I won't name, look at things as black and white. They look at certain aspects of sports, or sports itself, as black and white. But anyway, all jokes aside, the calls to suspend him center primarily upon the NFL, adhering to the optics. They say, well, they need to suspend Deshaun Watson based on the optics. And that's dangerous because you have men who are co-signing that, but they're not recognizing that you could just as easily be in that situation. Now, I know what a lot of people might say. They might say, well, I'm married, I'm in a committed relationship, and there's no way that I would ever employ that many massage therapists. But we all interact with people. We all interact with people. We've all interacted with people. So I would say for a lot of the people who are virtue signaling, let's say that you're married now and you see yourself as the epitome of a family man. What if you weren't always? And what if a bunch of women from middle and high school from your past popped up because you were now in a prominent position? What if they popped up and made accusations? Now, a lot of people, when it comes to Deshaun Watson, they'll be quick to say, well, if there were 30 accusers, I would side with the accusers right off the bat. That's because it's Deshaun Watson, but I guarantee you would sing a different tune if it were you. If it were you in that situation, you would say, well, wait a minute. What about the facts? What about my day in court? What about the evidence? All of these things. And you would be particularly disturbed if you went to offer a statement to a detective or in a civil court or do a deposition or whatever it was. And what if that official who was recording your deposition said, you know what, I believe that you're guilty? You probably wouldn't appreciate that. But anyway, this has been another episode of Talk and Scroll. Y'all take it easy.
Let me ask y'all something. What you think about Deshaun Watson? Believe all women, that's your only option. People gotta believe all women. The devil came to deceive all women. First it was Eve, then all women. Never mind the way that we all sinning. Ain't nobody perfect, you go below the surface. People wanna talk about it, they ain't never heard it. Johnny Depp did them depositions. People never listen, you hear that repetition. People telling you, trying to change every narrative. People they was really embarrassed to give any opposing view. What they chose for you, never do opposing motions. People want to talk about it, see how we exposing. Every time they want to add accusers, they confuse the way we was thinking. Never doing critical thinking. Want to talk about it's 24 of them. You could have maybe 24 more of them. It wouldn't make a difference. People talk about it, I ain't even trying to listen. I tried to look at it objectively. Now I'm thinking it's the women disrespecting me. They be disrespecting themselves respectfully. If you just want to follow somebody because of their gender, it's about the legal tender. Never try to forget about it. People want to talk about all of that. What is you calling that? Calling that deception. TNS is coming at you with critical questions. Yeah, it's TNS, time and space.